Where do we stand now और आपको क्या लगता है कि हमारी इकोनॉमी अगले 5 साल में कहाँ जाएगी?
It totally depends on हम अपनी इकोनॉमी को अगले 5 साल में लेके कहाँ पे जाना चाहते हैं. पाकिस्तान में your GDP 99% of your GDP last year. That's a structural problem. The structural problem, I would say, is something called the NFC.
The IMF program is like आपने बैंडेड लगा दिया है बुलेट वूंड पे, right? Because यहाँ बहुत पैसा जाता है toward हुंडी हवाला.
Whatever money is actually flowing through Hundi Hawala, that will continue to do so because that was always in the informal economy.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Stock Talk. आज मेरे साथ I have a very special guest. So without anything further, I would like to introduce you guys to Ammar Habib Khan, who is a very, very well-known economist. Thank you so much for joining us, Ammar.
Thank you for having me over.
So let's get right into it. Recently, with everything going on in the country, हमने 2023 में we saw a lot of the country went through a lot with the high interest rates. Inflation was at an all-time high, and then we kind of tightened our belts. Interest rates started falling. Where do we stand now? और आपको क्या लगता है कि हमारी इकोनॉमी अगले 5 साल में कहाँ जाएगी?
I think it totally depends on हम अपनी इकोनॉमी को अगले 5 साल में लेके कहाँ पे जाना चाहते हैं.
Okay.
So it's important to understand the context of why we have to do the belt tightening. And why will we have to continue doing the same for the next few years? Pakistan में your GDP 99% of your GDP last year was consumption as a percent of GDP. उससे पहले it was 97% और उससे पहले it was 95%. So all of your GDP is essentially consumption. So we consume everything, we barely produce anything.
Yeah.
We don't invest in the economy. Investment to GDP is barely around 12 to 13%.
Yeah.
A typical emerging market would be around 30%. So we need to invest more and consume less. And when you invest more, you develop more productive capacity. You are able to produce more and export more. So till the time you invest more, till the time you reduce your consumption, nothing is going to change.
So, with the current tax rates, we have some of the highest tax rates पूरी दुनिया में, right? And हमारे जो exporters हैं वो कह के थक गए हैं कि हम इस तरह से हमारी cost of production इतनी high है because of obviously the energy cost, which eventually will come to. तो we keep increasing the tax rates, right? इस साल थोड़ा बहुत relief मिलना था, which then got it was kind of taken back and it was changed again. And तो how is it possible कि जहाँ मतलब आप you're trying to encourage people, essentially the government's trying to encourage people कि आप formal economy की तरफ आएँ क्योंकि आपकी informal economy is triple the size of your formal economy, right? लेकिन at the same time आप tax rate increase कर रहे हैं, उसकी वजह से तो actually the opposite is going to take place, right? आपकी people might exit the formal sector and go toward informal because
And
the
that's
taxation.
happening as we speak. In fact, I would say informal economy is pretty much the same size of formal economy.
Okay.
It's not 3 times, just largely the same. So what's happening is, I mean, tax rates are increasing, and they shouldn't be because at these high tax rates, it's not possible to be competitive.
Yeah.
You know, your corporate tax rate is 29%, add super tax, something else, blah, blah, blah. It's 45% effective tax rate. At a 45% effective tax rate, you basically uncompetitive. It doesn't make sense for anyone to invest in the economy. So that's it. But why do we have such high tax rates? That's a structural problem. The structural problem, I would say, is something called the NFC. The way the NFC award is structured, that is a slight issue because what's happening is whatever is tax is collected during a year, 56%, 58% goes to the provinces, the remainder is kept by the federal. So the provinces get the lion's share and they keep on spending. And someone somewhere has to continue collecting those taxes to support that spending. So what's happening right now is you keep on running deficits and keep on borrowing more and more because from whatever's left of that 42%, you need to figure out the cost of financing, you need to figure out defense, you need to figure out tens of other things as well. So it's not possible. I mean, theoretically speaking, if you want to ensure that we don't have a budget deficit, we will have to maybe increase the tax to GDP ratio something like 24-25%, which is simply unsustainable. So we need to look at the spending here rather than the income and how we reallocate the overall pool of money. That's important because again, if we are going to rationalize that, only then we can attract more private investment. We'll keep on spending more and more money, keep borrowing and keep spending more and more. till the time, there's just another route of hyperinflation.
So with the IMF program that we're currently in, एक चीज़ जो मुझे थोड़ी surprising लगी थी, I mean of course the IMF program is like आपने बैंडेड लगा दिया है bullet wound पे, right? It's just keeping you on the ventilator. तो इसमें एक चीज़ जो होनी चाहिए थी वो हमारी government spending में government size is very big. There's a lot of different areas. There's so many different people working in it. बहुत ज़्यादा allocations into people's personal expenditures. उस पे क्यों नहीं सवाल उठे हैं? उसमें
So I think
changes क्यों नहीं
उसमें जो
आए
है ना,
हैं?
that's more of this is what I call a boogeyman, ठीक है?
Okay.
That you think, okay, you know what, बहुत ज़्यादा है, इस पे क्यों नहीं हो रहा? Federal पे है, let's say you close the federal government today.
Yeah.
Hypothetically,
Yeah.
tomorrow, Monday, we go Monday, so, okay, you know what, the federal government, whoever's working, no one's going to get any salary. Just shut it down. You will still have a budget deficit. Even if you shut everything down, you will still have a budget deficit because that's a structural problem per se. Because your debt expenditure is so high, cost of debt is so high, that needs to be serviced somehow. You need a base level of defense to ensure sustenance, to ensure that you're able to manage everything. So the fixed costs per se are very high. So it's not like the federal government, you just shut everything down today and suddenly tomorrow everything's fine. No, it's not. You will still have a budget deficit. So as I said, it's more of a structural problem. It's easy to blame a person. It's easy to blame an institution. कि okay, you know what, you find a bogeyman कि हाँ इसकी वजह से हो रहा है, जो भी हो रहा है वो इसकी वजह से हो रहा है. अगर लेट्स से इसको पेट्रोल नहीं मिलेगा कल से तो सही हो जाएगा. Yes, there may be inefficiency, there may be tons of more inefficiencies that need to be rooted out, that need to be sorted. But that's not the reason why all of this is happening. It's a structural problem and needs to be targeted as such.
So what policies do you think need to be implemented on a structural level?
I think what needs to be done is there needs to be a consensus on an overall fiscal basis that we need to stop running deficits, where that means rationalizing provincial expenditure, where that means increasing taxes at a more district and city level rather than at federal level. So mix and match. Countries across the world have done this successfully. We can do this as well.
So currently, one thing that we're lagging behind on again was हमने January में आपकी crypto council was established, a lot of things happened, framework आया. अब Pakistanis, the reason I'm mentioning this is because यहाँ बहुत पैसा जाता है toward हुंडी हवाला, right, which is your online digital assets trading accounts. तकरीबन पाकिस्तान में there's some 2 million accounts, ठीक है, which are obviously on international exchanges because that's where you can trade easily. And paisa yahan only through hundi hawala jata hai because there's no legal way to go through it. A lot of money is flowing there. Apparently saal mein $120 billion worth of money is traded just out of Pakistan with Pakistani owned money, which they earn however they earn it, right? So crypto side pe we were expecting ki nahi regulations going to be here in 6 months, we're going to get on it. Now it's kind of just we've zoned out of that. So do you think the framework's going to come? Do you think Pakistan can ever?
Again, so the thing is, all of these numbers that you give, there is no concrete number anywhere. No one knows, or there is not a single published number that can say, okay, you know what, Pakistan has X number of crypto users doing Y billion of trade. The numbers, they don't just, everyone has a different number. So until and unless you actually know what the real number is, it's all just fairy dust. I mean, you don't really know, like, what are you going to regulate when you don't even know what the number is? And see, what are you even trying to regulate at this point? It's like, let's say in the Soviet Union, jeans were banned. Jeans, you couldn't wear jeans in the Soviet Union. People were still wearing jeans in the Soviet Union. So what do you do? Do you regulate jeans? Because they would be smuggled. So this is precisely what's happening here as well. Money will find its way. Capital will find its way. You may try to regulate it. Countries have tried to regulate it successfully as well. But regulate what per se? What really are you trying to even regulate at this point? When you don't even know what the number is. Whatever money is actually flowing through hundi hawala, that will continue to do so because that was always in the informal economy. That was never part of a formal economy in the first place.
But there's also people, I know because I get so many messages on social media and stuff, right? लोग अपनी day job से earn करते हैं and then they use that to contact someone who has USDT. तो वो पैसे white से black हो रहे हैं actually.
So that's the informal market, right? The informal market continues to exist, and it will continue to exist for everything.
Shouldn't there be a way for us to purchase USDT or I don't know PKRT, somehow connect us to the global markets?
So you are already connected. See, that's what I'm trying to say. You are already connected, but how more do you want to be connected? I mean, my first crypto I bought in 2015. 2015, we bought crypto, and that's about it. People continue to buy regardless. So whether you regulate or not, people are buying. So see, why do you regulate anything?
To tax it.
To tax it, right? So anyone who is well making a lot of money, do they want to be taxed?
I don't mind.
Exactly. So whenever as I always say, whenever the alpha is gone, whenever that thing is not there, you say, okay, you know what, let's just regularize it, so on and so forth. And so you can tax it. It does not add anything to the real economy. It's just nice. It makes for good headlines, which doesn't add much to the real economy.
Don't you think, for example, let's take international brokerages, for example, right? There's some really big ones. They are right now operating in Pakistan, but without, not legally, right? तो जो भी पैसे आते हैं वो illegally flow करते हैं या फिर they're sending it to people's crypto wallets. And then they just do their marketing online. And SECP keeps putting out notices saying कि नहीं ये scam है, ये नहीं है. So I think personally, for example, you say कि you can buy this license for so much amount of money, right? So that can go toward the government kitty. Then other than that, when you allow companies to come somewhere legally, right, they can bring with them capital expenditure, they can bring with them job creation.
No, see, that's the thing now. This is what I call survivorship bias.
Okay.
You know more about people who, let's say, made some money in crypto, but you totally forget about people who've completely lost it in too many scams. That's a thing, right?
Yeah.
So many scams happen. I personally know many people who just basically lost money because there was nothing there, and SECP can only just do, मतलब वो घर पे आके आपको डांट तो नहीं सकता ना. If you are not smart with your own money, if you're not smart with your own capital, then that's your problem. That's not the state's problem. In the first place, if you're being stupid, you're being stupid. That's about it. मतलब इसमें कोई इलाज नहीं है इस चीज़ के if you're being an idiot.
लेकिन फिर जो 2019 में trading crypto is illegal जो notices आ रहे थे and if you're caught it's going to be penalties and this and that and making it criminal at that time, like, then that's not fair either.
See, I mean, यहाँ पे तो दूध बेचने भी it's criminal at a certain price. As I said earlier, the state has its own machinery, has its own infrastructure. Prices of milk are fixed in the city. Prices of samosa are fixed during Ramzan. If there is a penalty if you sell milk at a higher price than what's mandated. Does that get imposed? So a lot of things is just like smokes and mirrors at this point. And my filter is simple. Does this add anything to the real economy or does it take away? In my view, it simply takes a lot of capital, energy away from the real economy rather than adding anything towards that.
Interesting. Okay, so coming toward what we actually do produce as a country, right? So we keep boasting about having the largest irrigation system in the world and, wow, agricultural economy and we export this much fruit. Lekin in reality, ये बहुत low value goods हैं, right? Other countries have shifted toward IT and tech and software and skilled labor actually even as well. We're still giving just like labor that does construction and, like basic tasks, right? It all obviously stems from education. Lekin I was having a conversation with someone और उन्होंने suggest किया था actually, and I had some questions about this, which is why I want to run this by you. Pakistan might be able to entirely surpass an industrial boom and go straight to an IT boom via the whole crypto.
That's a fairly dumb thing to say. Whoever said that, I'm pretty much in the open right now. It's a fairly dumb thing to say. So why I say it's a dumb thing to say? See, there are stages of growth.
Yeah.
Okay. You can't say you're an infant right now, suddenly you'll be an adult. There's stages of growth. Each economy, each country goes through various stages of growth. East Asia, I would say there are a dozen examples out there. Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, South Korea, Taiwan, China, Japan, Vietnam.
Yeah.
They all started with a strong agricultural base.
Yeah.
Why do you need a strong agricultural base? Because you've got a lot of people. They need jobs. They need to do something. They start with agriculture. They improve their yields. They improve their ability. They improve their capacity. Your household incomes increase. And then that's your point where you start adding value in the process. You export primary goods. See, we're in the fairly early stages of development even right now. There are more than 20 million out of school children in the country. How do you exactly transition to an IT base? Well, just
That was my question, because
doesn't make
40%
sense.
of our population is also mentally stunted.
They are stunted, which means there's not enough caloric, where there's not enough nutrition. So you need to
Exactly.
fix the food problem first,
Education
very
first.
basic existential problem first, before you try to do something else. So you need to do agriculture well. And countries have done that. 2 decades, 3 decades, you do that well, you export that surplus, then you start adding value, then you move towards mechanization, then you move towards tertiary. What we've done is we move from an agrarian economy to a completely service oriented economy. We're a fairly trading economy right now. We're not producing much. I mean, even a lot of stuff that we eat, they're
Yeah, it's
essentially
important.
imported.
Yeah.
So that is what we need to do. We need to see where we exist on the path of development, and then grow from there. There are no shortcuts in development. You got 220, 230 million people, whatever, there'll be 300 million people in no time. Someone needs to feed them. Someone needs to ensure that they're educated. Someone needs to ensure that their necessary nutrition is in place. Crypto cannot feed anyone.
Of course.
Crypto cannot educate anyone. You need basic level of literacy to do anything. There are more than 20 million children out of school right now. There are a lot of children simply drop out of primary school and not able to do secondary school because there aren't enough secondary school. These are the real problems to solve, not some hypothetical fairy dust that you can capture in the future and make value out of this. Completely stupid notions out there.
I am completely of the same opinion. So, essentially, none of this can happen without a long-term economic plan, right? Hamara long-term as Pakistanis continues to be 5 years. We just can't seem to see beyond that. China had its 100-year plan, right? And then it eventually, for that, now it's nearing toward the end of that finally, right? After World War II, before World War II, even actually. And so if we were to put you, if I was to say, okay, Ammar, please make an economic plan, okay, for Pakistan step by step. What are the main things you would focus on? What are things you would do and that you would suggest should be done?
So again, the first thing, we started our conversation with consumption. The investment to GDP is
Yeah.
low. Let's think about why investment to GDP is low.
Yeah.
It's low. It's not like investment is a function of savings.
Yeah.
It's not like we don't save. We save a lot, but we
Yeah.
save outside the formal sector. We save in, let's say, with cash under the mattress, we would just buy dollars and keep it. We would buy gold. Gold has been smuggled into the country since forever at this point. We have rarely imported any gold officially. It just exists. As you said earlier, it's illegal. I mean, such as life, you can just buy gold right now. It's easier to, let's say, call someone up and buy gold than open a bank account. So that is the friction right there. It's easier to call someone up and get dollars or foreign currency or anyone, or for example, crypto for that matter, than open a bank account. So that is a friction right there and then.
There are too many hurdles in our legal system.
And there are too many hurdles, and more importantly, there is just this slack where, okay, you know what, why even bother? At both at an institutional level and at the retail level as well. So that needs to be fixed. You need more investment in the system. You need more savings. You solve the saving
And to make it
problem.
easier to open basic things like bank accounts and brokerage accounts and
It
mutual funds
should be
accounts.
super easy. I mean, by just your sheer existence, you should have a bank account. If you have a
CNIC connect
CNIC, matlab, that should double up as a bank. It should already be there. You don't even have to bother with going
Centralized
and
systems.
opening it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it should be right there, and then some kind of a
Yeah.
legislative thing. So that's your first step. You just make it easy. You make it more convenient to be part of the formal system. And then what do? You start encouraging more investment, domestic investment. How do you do that? Now, what do? I mean, our second part of the conversation was tax rates. Just fairly high tax rates. So you've got, let's say, 10 million rupees. What do you do with those 10 million rupees?
You invest them and you get tax advantage against it.
No, I mean, that's you being fairly sophisticated right
Yeah.
now. Typical household, I would say 95% household would just say, okay, we'll just buy a plot of land with that 10 million rupees.
Yeah.
ठीक है. And what does a plot of land do? Nothing. It just stays there, probably underwater 10 years back and maybe underwater in the
10
next 5
years
years as well. But the risk appetite is there. कि, okay, शायद पानी के नीचे भी आ गया, तब भी
Yeah.
I'll just have a plot of land. I don't know how I'm going to live on it, but
Yeah.
it'll still be there. So the risk appetite is there. But they're like, you don't have to pay any corporate tax on it. There's barely any tax in buying that. You can just keep flipping it like anything, like oranges at this point. And that is where a lot of capital gets reallocated. So what you need to do, you need to reallocate that capital towards industrial investments, towards industrial growth. You need to come up with a plan. You need to come up with, I don't like using this word, amnesty. You need to say, okay, you know what? There is a lot of informal capital in the market. Let's just bring it. Let's industrialize. Let's have a very clear-cut 5-year, 10-year industrial plan in place, and just reallocate capital to there, and suddenly investment in GDP growth. We try to attract a lot of FDI. We try to attract a lot of foreign direct investment. But why will any foreigner invest when the domestic entities, when the locals don't want to invest? I mean, you will know there are many companies out there with cash of more than 50 billion, 100 billion rupees just on their balance sheet. So why are they not investing? Someone needs to go and ask them, guys, why aren't you investing? Your 100 billion rupees cash on balance sheet is the dumbest thing you can do. And not pay a dividend. But a lot of these people don't like paying a dividend because the cash leaves the family. So there's that. But why aren't they investing? That is the question you need to answer, rather than why are foreigners not investing? Because once the domestic parties start investing, the foreigners will start investing as well. So you go to capital and capital allocate. And why are they not investing? 39% tax rates, a lot of intergroup tax rates. You reduce tax rates, let's say 15% for any new industrial entity, and suddenly you will see a surge of industrial growth. So that is what needs to be done. This solves your job problem rather than just doing something random with the crypto or anything like that. So that's all job problem. It's just capital reallocation and rationalization of taxes. We talked about agri and why we don't add value in the process. Why not? It's a tax. This is also a taxation problem. For example, you can go outside and you can buy, let's say, whatever the fruit is in vogue right now. Let's say mangoes. You can buy mangoes outside, 200 rupees, 250 rupees a kilo. That is fine. You pay the guy cash. You can even send money through their wallet. And that should be when a transaction happened. You bought mangoes and it's fine. But the moment the fruit producer, whoever has the orchard, says, okay, you know what, I'm not going to just sell mangoes raw. I am going to convert this into, let's say, mango jam, or I'm going to package mangoes and can them up and sell them so they have a longer shelf life. What's going to happen?
The value is going to increase, obviously.
Value is being added, right? What happens when you add value?
You get more money in exchange for it.
There's something else. Someone else comes and takes your money as well. You get hit with an 18% sales tax. So suddenly, if you're selling 250 rupees a kilo of mangoes, and you're like, I'm going to can it and let's say sell it for 400 rupees, but suddenly someone comes and says, okay, hey, listen, what are you even thinking? Why are you even trying to do that? So you add value and then you have to pay a significant sales tax on it. So through this arbitrary mechanism, you're actually discouraging value addition. And that's why you see we're just doing a lot of primary goods. That's about it, barely any value add. And that's a taxation problem. That is not a people not trying to take risk problem. People are there, people are taking risk. So I just told you, right? You've got a plot of land, you're not taking any risk, you're not generating any jobs, doing nothing, that just exists. Someone's going to come and say, oh, you know what, you can make a building out of it. Sure, you're building a building on it, then what? Nothing. It's not generating any value in the process. Meanwhile, if you set up, let's say, an industry, a small manufacturing unit which exports, let's say, toys, for example, yeah, you'll have like 50 people working in it. There'll be 50 people, households that will get salaries. You will get exports out of it. You're taking the market risk here. The market risk, whether my toys will be sold or not, the risk that tons of other things can happen, and you're being taxed heavily for taking that market risk. Meanwhile, in a scenario where you just have capital stuck in a land, you're just not taking any market risks. You're not doing anything. You're barely putting in any effort. You're not generating any jobs. And the state is like, okay, that's great. So the tax rates basically need to be flipped. It's literally like that in many other jurisdictions. essentially when, let's say, on parcels of land which are unutilized, there's a heavy tax. There's a heavy tax on having a second home. There's a heavy tax on having a third home. So this needs to be done to really reallocate capital toward industrialization, toward actually producing more rather than just being a trading economy.
Wow. That was, as someone who is not fond of real estate myself, I love to hear the encouragement of active investments. And so let me get this clear. Essentially, Pakistan needs to, sabse pehle, the government needs to tighten its own belt and then allow for industrial growth to come via lower taxation. Right? So that will need to happen. It will be difficult for the government to manage
So
spending during
that
that time.
is literally the only way forward. Like you need, there is this developmental, let's say, pathway, right? You need agriculture, you add value to that, and you keep adding more and more value. You cannot jump. You can leapfrog certain places. For example, in agri, it's just much easier to be more efficient through drip irrigation, through solar, through all of that. Just easier. So these are just benefits that you can use to your advantage, which countries didn't have 30 years back. So you can leapfrog the agriculture revolution. You can increase yields faster
Yeah.
than, let's say, Thailand 30 years back.
Yeah.
But you still need to put an effort into it. You still need to create an environment that allows you to do that.
So government अपनी spending किस तरह से cut कर सकती है so that then they can
I
adjust
think it's
tax
not
rates
a
accordingly?
spending problem. I
Okay.
always say at the federal level, again, there is some spending that can be kept, but there's a lot of room. At a provincial level, there exists a lot of room. And I mean, if you've got the NFC, we're coming back to that, where provinces get it, the provinces need to have a PFC as well, which is a Provincial Finance Commission, in which the divisions and the districts start getting money. So either have that where there is actual devolution of power and funding. Right now, what's happening, the buck stops at the province, and then the province can just do whatever it wants with that money. Whether that's judicious spending or not, just the debate or truth is out there.
Okay. So since February, there's been one very important, obviously, energy seems to be one of the biggest problems for Pakistan, because after incentivizing IPPs at ridiculous returns, dollarized returns, we now have too much electricity at very high prices, and to cover up for that, Pakistanis बहुत high capacity payments pay करते हैं. I was giving the audience some background to the topic that we're coming to. And now finally we've reached this point where our pura energy sector is involved in such heavy circular debt that now then finally through the banks you were like, okay, we're going to pay it off, at least a portion of it, around half. But this has been going on now for about 7-8 months. So अभी भी हमें आवाज़ आई थी फ्राइडे को कि नहीं मंडे को फाइनली पेमेंट्स मिल रही हैं कंपनीज को और सर्कुलर रिजॉल्व होनी है. What's actually happening?
So I'll just start from the beginning here. You said ridiculous rates. They were not ridiculous. Context is important here. I mean, whenever you buy an equity, you look at the risk-free rate, you look at whatever the risk of that specific company's industry is, and then you've got a rough discount rate in your head. Okay, you know what? I am just going to buy this. So having an 18% IRR or 17% IRR dollarized doesn't look that bad when at that point in time you were at much riskier economy.
Yeah.
And your dollarized bonds were trading at 12-13%. So when the risk-free rate is 12 to 13%, it actually is going to charge a 4 to 5% risk premium, right?
Yeah.
Why is anyone going to come and say, okay, you know what, I'll just do it for free? Just doesn't work like that.
But-
And more importantly, equity component is very small component of the overall picture. I think what we do is we just really focus on, okay, we're just making the classic mistake. Okay, no, he's making a lot of money. Why is he making a lot of money? He shouldn't be making this much money. Fine, just penalize them. What happens? You further increase the risk premium. We make the same mistake again and again and again and again and again without learning any lessons in the process. I'm not defending dollarized returns. I'm just saying it's important to understand the context in which a lot of these things had happened. So even right now, let's say we've got about 2 trillion in capacity payments. I would say almost 70% of this is basically debt repayments.
Yeah.
Debt will be repaid. Debt has to be repaid, right? So that's not something you can shy away from. Having surplus power, it's not a bad problem to have. It's a great problem to have, you know. Having a deficit is a problem. Okay, you know what, bijli nahi hai, kya karu? I have to do something. I have to set up a power plant. There's a lead time of 3 years, 4 years. This was a problem you had in the mid 2000s.
But it's made the cost of production go up so much, and exporters are struggling.
See, no, see, that is the thing. Power is just one component of the larger pie.
Yeah.
I mean, if you take up any balance sheet, if you look at cost of production, power will make a maximum 10 to 15% of that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other things that exist, but if you can just like fixate on power, then that's your problem. A lot of exporters, top exporters, see, the whoever makes noise actually don't export anything. Those who export, they never talk about this. Must be a reason, right? You mean you can look at it. Whoever's making the most noise actually does the least amount of production. Whoever actually produces and exports, you don't see them making any noise because they're focusing on efficiency. If you're using machinery, if you're using infrastructure which is inefficient, and because there has been an increase in costs and your inefficiency is biting you now, that is not the state's problem. Yes, power costs are high, but you're also inefficient. Let's not forget that. And the government had been giving a lot of leeway, a lot of concessions in terms of discounted loans, in terms of this, in terms of that. If that did not enable you to be more efficient, then that's your problem. That's not the government's problem. I mean, you look at the list of top 10 exporters.
Yeah.
Just look at the list and identify even one entity that actually makes noise regarding this. They don't, because they keep on exporting and they're doing great.
Okay, so you think it's a cultural...
It's a noise problem.
Okay.
And yes, power costs need to be lower. There is no denying that. And we need
But
to
it's
be
not
lower.
as big as a problem for exporters specifically.
It's not. It's not. There are tons of other ways to manage the same. I'm not disagreeing with power, but they need to be lower. But there are other factors as well that need to be considered.
Okay, lovely. But is circular debt getting solved?
Circular debt has been in existence since
Yeah.
2007,
Yeah.
2008. Almost 20 years at this point. Not the first time, not the last time. The numbers keep on changing. Story remains the same. The numbers will keep on changing. And there is no resolution to this till the time when we say, okay, you know what, we're going to do away with cross subsidies. We're going to be more efficient. Our distribution companies are going to be more efficient. We are actually going to penalize people who steal electricity, so on and so forth. Till the time that happens, again, this is another cultural problem at this point. The transmission and distribution losses are around 18 to 20% right now. So this means there are a lot of people who simply don't pay their bills. There are a lot of people who just steal electricity, a lot of households, a lot of industries, whatever. They steal electricity. They don't pay their bills. So either you penalize them, either you put them in jail, or someone somewhere will have to cover their costs. Till the time you fix this, you can't really fix circular debt. Everything else is basically more of, let's say, it's a stopgap arrangement. That's about it. Fine, you can refinance it. You can do this, you can do that. You can refinance it, get a breather for 3 months, 6 months, but that still does not solve the structural problem. And you're talking about the electricity one right now. There's a much bigger issue in gas at this
Yeah.
point as well.
Yeah.
So you've got two circular debts just ballooning up, and eventually a third one will emerge up. Let me
Yeah.
assure you, this is only going to get worse because of more solar and batteries in the system. Because the inefficiency is going to catch up, and it's going to become a much bigger fiscal problem in the next 3 to 4 years than it is right now.
So, I'm still going to keep trying to circle back to the same topic that brings it to my stock market. So, jo current payment banks get through this small portion of circular debt that was supposed to be solved, do we see that being solved anytime soon? Like, yeah, is the Chinese IPP wala masla too big?
I doubt that, because again, China, I mean, if you look at the overall debt restructurings or the debt crisis that happened across many countries post-COVID between 2021 and 24, you don't see the Chinese BRI debt being restructured or reprofiled anywhere. You see some examples here and there. They did something in Bangladesh. They did extended some payments. They did something with Sri Lanka. They're doing with some kind of a currency swap with Kenya right now. But they are very far and few in between and very rare. So this needs to be viewed in the overall debt framework rather than in isolation of power, because eventually this is debt and the state-owned entities, and whenever the Chinese banks, let's say, give someone a concession, okay, they may have to give this, they set a precedence, and the same concession may have to be given to maybe 20 other countries where BRI investments are exists as well. So again, it's not, shouldn't be viewed as a localized problem. If you want to solve this problem, you need to view it as more of a global BRI thing. Okay, what is the policy of Chinese policy banks in terms of debt workouts? Do they reprofile or not? If they do reprofile, what are the kind of terms that they're looking at? What is happening in other economies where there was some problem? Are they giving any concessions or not? If yes, can we replicate that model here? If not, what can be done to make it easy for them? So on and so forth. So you need to view it from a more global lens rather than a fairly parochial lens of 4, 5, 7 power plants.
So the circular debt is not getting resolved anytime
It's
soon.
not going to get resolved. I mean, see, refinancing, maybe it just might happen. Refinancing is a very straightforward, it's a vanilla transaction. Just here, they're just very, very, I would say, mundane. It doesn't even require a lot of brain cells at this point. Because, you're just trying to, as you said, a bullet wound with a band-aid. Sure, like put like 3 band-aids on it. It's great. It'll
It'll give some cash flow temporarily, but it doesn't solve the
It'll
problem.
give you a 4 months runway, but that does not solve the structural problem. That does not address the real elephant in the room. It's like an elephant in the room. We're just pretending the elephant doesn't exist.
Pretty much. Well, Ammar, thank you so much for being with us today.
Always
It was
welcome.
a pleasure to have you. I hope you'll join us again sometime
Always.
soon.
Thank you very much.
And thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time on Stock Talk. Take care. Bye.